Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's live. Today we are speaking about the power of self-care. Let me put on my Fez has joined. Just waiting for him to request and then we'll get started. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Makhanya.
Are
I'm
you well?
good, thanks. How are
Good, thank
you?
you. I'm well. I'm well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm good. Why are you so serious?
Why am I so serious?
Yeah,
What-
iba
Ah,
bekumele
nangishela
ukuthi ngiyaphila ngane yakwethu.
angithi phela when we're speaking to people that are international, we need to speak English. We need to
Plus ubona
say, we must first check the time. Oh, it's 12. Good afternoon. How are you?
plus ngibhale CAT on the thing, so vele it shows that we are
Uyabona?
international. Yeah,
Exactly.
are you well?
Exactly. I'm well. Yourself? You look good.
I'm good. Thank you all for you and your people. They must see what is serious up in here.
That's
How
all.
was Father's Day? Before we start.
Father's Day was amazing. It was the first time I got breakfast in bed from my 2.5-year-old uh, and my other little one that had just woken up.
Yes.
It was very nice, enjoyable, relaxed, nothing hectic.
Oh, sweet. I'm glad.
Well, it's
Okay.
sleepless nights these days, eh?
When it's always sleepless nights for you. Even the first round,
Bruh,
you must check. I don't know what it is
bruh.
that you need to check, but
I think I have another 2 years to go before I can actually enjoy an 8 hour sleep. Seriously.
oh my word. I think
And
I'm
you
glad
can,
you're
I
saying that.
mean, you can see here already, you know? Go, B. I even have, there's a few white hairs now the gray hairs that I'm seeing here that are starting. Like, these guys are killing my vibe, bro.
Are they both boys?
Yes.
Oh, God, that makes it
Antumes,
even.
Antumes.
I,
Keep
I guess
them
it makes
open.
it's relevant, which is Kurmanya self-care, because sleep is part of self-care, and we'll get there. But I just
Okay.
want to welcome everyone that's here and also welcome you and thank you for coming. I think I chose the topic because I was like, whenever we speak about self-care, we make it sound like this cute thing where it's girls going to the spa and getting massages, or it's always girly. But I've never heard of. I even looked for a podcast on Spotify. Yes, self-care for men, and I didn't find it. And I'm like, but why do we make self-care seem like it's a woman's thing? Does it sound feminine?
Now that you mentioned, yes, actually, it does kind of sound feminine because, Tina is a much self-care. It's we meet up maybe at the bar or something for a drink or two and we talk and then we go home. This thing of spa dates and, those pictures in robes and you're showing off like half a thigh and you're holding your hand on your waist. Not for us guys,
I think that maybe that's also why I wanted us to have this conversation because we linked self-care to that, but that's not necessarily what self-care is. That is a type of self-care. So, for instance, actually, maybe before I get into that, I actually googled the actual definition of self-care, which I'm going to read. It says self-care means taking actions to look after yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. It involves doing things that help you stay healthy and happy, like getting enough rest. I'm going to take a short pause there. Eating well, exercising, and managing stress. It's about making choices that support your well being and help you feel your best every day. So, Tina, we've taken that and we've made it a woman's thing and we've made it I'm going to go do self care and do my nails. But it's really about taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally,
Yeah.
physically, and all the other ways.
Yeah, like I said, when I think of self-care, for me, it's, ladies doing their nails, pedicures,
Mm,
manicures, those kind of
yeah.
things. Us as men, and some of the guys maybe can correct me if I'm
Yes.
wrong. What is that? Like, yile. Okay. Yini uself-care ngesiZulu? Siqale nje lapho.
Ukuzinakekela.
Yes. Angithi phela usinakekela ngendlela ehlukahlukene. Angithi
Yes, definitely.
ukudla, ukugeza, the usual stuff that everyone does,
Mm.
but it doesn't have to do with the emotional or mental well-being of a human being.
Why?
I guess it's the kind of generation thina esikhule kuyo and the parents that we have, or baba bethu, or
Mm.
uncles, or anyone that is a father figure who indoda ayikhali ayikho le nto le nto uthi indoda iyakhala uma uyindoda
Mm.
fanele ube wedwa uma unenkinga ucabange noma ukhulume nomuntu ongakusiza ngento enjalo, not ukuthi manje wena-ke usuyokwenza iy'nzipho usuyisituzana-ke manje, as they would say.
Yes. Okay, no, I get it. I hope by the end of this conversation, we all realize that maybe men do it, but it's just that it doesn't have a term. So I'm just
Correct.
going to go back to introducing. So another reason why Chantel, actually, why I wanted to have this conversation now is because June is Men's Health Month. And I actually found a very interesting article on Isaiza, where they basically explain why we celebrate Men's Health Month. So they say that it's dedicated to raising awareness about men's health issues, promoting early detection and treatment of diseases. It's an initiative that is particularly important in South Africa, where many men face unique health challenges, including high rates of HIV, TB, and also mental health is another critical area, which I think we all know. And I'm loving the fact that everyone has been posting about how it's mental health month. And they say that South African men often grapple with societal expectations to suppress emotions and avoid discussing mental health issues, potentially leading to adverse outcomes such as elated suicide rates. And when we facilitate open conversations like this about mental health, then it ensures that mental health is accessible. And hopefully, after this conversation, people are also going to be speaking about self care. And then, you can post a hashtag self care while you're having drinks with your friends, because that's also, I feel like that is self
Um,
care as well. It just sounds girly because we've made it sound girly.
I have a confession.
Yes.
When you told me about this discussion that we're going to have today, or chat, I had no idea that June was self-care month for men. So, yeah,
It's Men's Health Month.
I didn't even know that there was such a thing.
Yeah.
I just thought that June is the start of winter, and that's it.
Maybe.
You know,
Maybe.
Labor Day and Father's Day that chops and changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm even seeing a comment here by Aned. Societal expectations have a lot of influence regarding that phrase, and he's very correct. I mean, yeah, yeah. No, there's a long way to go. There's a long way to go. It's a new thing to myself and to people like myself that are like this. Asibona abantu abajwayele izinto kuthiwa self-care.
Yeah.
Asizazi, and we're not trying to be stubborn or being Zulu or tribalistic about it. It's the honest truth. We are not exposed to, or some of us are not exposed to those kind of things.
Definitely. And that's why I'm here. The Holy Spirit into me.
Hey, Shumaela,
So I found an interesting fact that says, I'm sure you know this and you can confirm this. I hope it's true, but it says, did you know that men are less likely to visit a doctor as regularly as women do, which can lead to, okay, the second part you don't have to confirm, but Tiwa, because men don't visit doctors as often as women do, it usually leads to undiagnosed illnesses. So I still in a doctor.
Yes, I think when you were a fly on my wall this place because I've been meaning to go to the doctor and got entities. Where did I do it? Because because the
I'm
thing
not
is,
sick.
I have a certain back pain.
Yes.
I think it's a muscle issue. I don't know what it is, but I've been meaning to go to the doctor. But I only
Mm.
say get to doctor when the pain is there. When it's not, I'm like,
You see.
because the my medical aid, so what's the point of going? You
Yes.
know? Yeah.
I think
But
that's also why. Yeah.
the, your question as to why don't we go? I really don't know. I mean, we think of taking Panadols and all these other, medications now, so
Mm.
and when the pain subsides, we just don't go unless it's something serious. And I Googled it. It wasn't cancerous. Everything is still fine. So, I mean,
Hi, what Dr. Good.
surely, kuzohamba hamba kudlula. And we laugh. And honestly, that's how we think, you know. And someone will say, "Oh, but someone who might be as educated or whatever, why don't you?" I'm like, so okay, look,
Mm.
fuck it, repeat, like Mhlani or whatever, or a fix. Nothing it
Vicks,
repeats cancer. Yeah. Fix is good for many things.
really?
Yeah. It doesn't
Okay.
take away the pain like permanently.
Yes.
It's a short-term, solution to a problem that, as long as it, like I said, as long as it's not terminal illness,
But how
it's all right.
will you know? How will you know it's not terminal if you haven't seen a doctor
Well,
to
according
do
to
tests?
Google, Google says that
Ah,
it's a muscle thing. So, and makuloku mangifika kanje emhlane, kusho ukuthi kuloku kushintsha yabo. So, imasela kuzokhona. Like going to the gym like for the first time and you've got
yes.
like a muscle cramp, yabo. Mhlambe kube into enjalo, ne-muscle cramp after some time iphinde iphele, yabo.
I did not
So, yeah.
expect
Maybe. Hmm?
the shock that you are shocking me now. I did not expect it.
Kuzodlula, kuzodlula.
Let's see. I don't know if I saw. Okay, Uti Anele. June is mental health month and Pride month.
Yes,
However,
Friday, correct. Yes.
Pride always takes over because we celebrate Pride. We need to check on men's mental health. Exactly.
Thank you, Dustin.
Exactly.
Thank you, Dustin.
Okay. So, part one with self care. I feel like now I'm teaching you, and I'm glad we're teaching Nama notes here.
Unaspilion.
But the part I feel like let's talk about physical self care first. You've already mentioned that you have a lack of sleep, which I think we always hear about these things where say, oh, we must sleep 8 hours of sleep, we need to get enough sleep, blah 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 blah. And for you, how do you operate? Ngoba kuthiwa it's good for our mental health, and if we don't sleep enough, it will affect us. How do you operate with a lack of sleep?
Okay, so before I had children, 8 hours was the norm. Now, I wonder if I can get a good solid 3 to 4 hours of like proper deep sleep.
Yes.
I'm good. The rest is not even sleep nje, because ugcina uvuka, ushintsha amanabukeni nani nani. And funny enough, I've gotten used to it over time. But how I also manage it is eating good food,
Okay.
organic
Yeah.
food that helps. As expensive as it is, it's good for the body and soul.
Mm.
I wake up early and pretty much sleep early as well. Yeah.
Mm.
So look, I don't have a formula or a method that I use, and I'm
Yes.
happy that we're having this conversation because this is not about you and I teaching each other how, I do this, I do that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I really don't know. And having, like I said, young kids, you become so out of touch with reality and so many other things that you even forget about yourself. So even this whole thing of mental health for men, for me, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I'm open to ideas. I'm open to suggestions. I'm even open for other people to help me or us if they are in a position similar to me where they've got like a very young child and they hardly get sleep, yes, we do have someone that helps and stuff. But at the end of the day, ingane after hours, because umuntu uyahamba uyolala naye as a helper, is yours,
Mm,
is your responsibility. So,
yeah,
you know, it's difficult to kind of balance the two.
definitely. And I'm glad you're giving us this perspective from a dad because I'm sorry to say this as a woman, but we make everything about us as women. As women, you women, in our days,
I'm happy.
throughout the
I'm
years.
happy. I'm happy you said it. I'm happy you said it. Go back. Go back. Lale.
Even Father's Day, I saw a post. Someone said Father's Day is not mother. Who said it? It's not Mother's Awareness Day. It's Father's
Yeah.
Day.
Complaining. Yeah. Very true.
So it's Sine Women's Day, Sine Mother's Day, Sine birthday. Even your birthday
Lale.
becomes my
Uni.
birthday, and I
But
think that's also yeah.
even Father's Day is also your guys' day because as much as you do things for us, the gifts that you get us, those gifts are not being enjoyed by the father, but by the whole family.
You take any apron and
You know,
the apron I mean fry. You
I,
fry for us. Yeah. So I think that's why it's important for us to constantly have these conversations, and we shouldn't only have them more June because it's men's whatever. We should have them as much as we talk about women. I had a live the other time, Kuma no Hungani, and we spoke about how even when we speak about kids, we talk about protecting the girl child, and we hardly ever sorry, we hardly ever speak about protecting the boy child. And that's why a lot of boys by abused and they grow up never telling
yes,
anyone
yes,
ever in their lives because there are no spaces for men and for boys. Even before we even speak about men, there are no spaces where we make it okay to speak about how boys need to be protected as well.
correct.
So I'm glad that we're having, especially because you're a boy dad.
Yeah, yeah. I think for the longest of times, because we live in a society where things are not equal between men and women,
Mm,
maybe for quite a while we've been pushing the narrative of let's get the girl child out there, let's expose them, let's give them opportunities. But forgetting that as much as a girl is born every day,
mm,
so a boy is being born every day.
yes.
What happens to those kids? Will we ever get to a place where things are equal? I don't know. Not anytime
Mm,
soon, but you're quite correct. I believe now that we need to treat boys the very same way that we treat girls and vice versa.
mm,
But most importantly, we need to. Uh, this is what someone once said to me that the most important thing in life is learning to respect each other
yes.
irrespective of gender, of sexuality, of religion,
Mm,
and all those things. And I think that we need to teach our girls the very same way that we teach Abafana Betu. But akhona, there are certain differences that will always be there.
yes.
You know, I was listening to this radio show the other day, and the guy was wanting advice. He's been married for, I think, like 20 years or something. And the one day he went out with his wife, he came
Mm,
back home and found his son watching TV with a girl,
mm,
assuming that is the girlfriend.
mm,
So him and the wife went to the bedroom and left the child with his son and this girl to finish the movie. The lady is like, the mother was like, "Aye, cha. Phela ikwambe. Sis, go back home and ask ubuyaphi."
yes.
When the child leaves, the husband and the wife are now having this conversation. Say, okay, but Happy, how come you didn't tell your son ukuthi it's not right to do this? Ingane yabantu nani nani, yabo?
Mm,
I'd see the guy, no, he's my son. I'm kind of happy that he, did that. It's showing that he likes girls. So then
Uyakhula.
people are calling, yes, we are calling. So then people are obviously calling in and wanting to find out if does the very same guy have a daughter, and would he then give permission for the daughter to do the same thing? Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
So
yes.
I I'm of the view that we need to find some kind of balance.
Mm,
And
mm,
funny enough, I think they would do it quite well. when it comes to this dating thing, you know?
Yes.
What
Yeah.
the girl can do, that the boy can do. Tina again in our dark. No.
Good.
It's
Yeah. It's tricky. Very
it's a
tricky.
bit and maybe that's where the whole thing of there may be more pregnancies in our race versus Abelo because abazali bethu also are maybe too shy or too scared to speak about sex and dating because it's not allowed,
Yeah.
you know. And mhlambe nalokho kungasiza, which also can be linked to mental health and mental wellness because
Definitely.
lento lena awuyiqali kubudala, uqala usesemncane. You can't then say this is June is men's mental wellness month. What about the boys? How are you going to get there if you don't start it at a young age? So
Exactly.
it means people like you and I need to start, imparting that knowledge, the little that we might have, to the young ones.
And that's why we
Yeah.
need to educate ourselves. So masesibaniga le knowledge. They don't get it from outside because that's what happened with us. Our
Yeah.
parents didn't have these conversations. Hambe sekamngani umngani athi hayi bo 2 + 2 is 6. They say, okay, let's go, 6. And
Yeah.
then next thing we come home with surprises and our parents are shocked. But
Mhm.
they could have taught us this and had these conversations with us anyway. So I just want to go back to what you said about physical wellness. You spoke about organic food.
Yes.
Organic food, do you have a farm
Okay.
outside, grow
So
plants?
no, organic food is more natural food, like yabona or your broccolis, the natural fruits, and maybe staying. It's not ukudla ama takeaway. Ngisho kanjalo.
Okay.
Ukudla kwemvelo. Yabo. Guess they call it organic, because you buy at these fancy shops and whatnot, But this is really ukudla kwemvelo, ukudla okukhule emakhaya, for example, or what do you call it, amaklabishi, those things that if you come from a village or have access to someone that lives in a village, those kind of foods, they help, yeah.
Yeah. So you feel like that it helps with your mindset, your body, and all
It
that.
it, it has natural nutrients and I'm a chemical, especially like the foods that is corner. For example, chicken there that grows. In fact, I won't mention any names, but some of the food that we eat, like chicken that you buy from certain places,
Yes.
it's not like babulali cooking that,
Yeah.
it's grown in certain places and over so that the steroids make it look bigger and etc. And some of those foods, they do cause some harm in our bodies one way or the other. So when I say organic, I mean even though that's from natural places, like
Yeah.
yeah. Yini ngoba nesiZulu le nkukhu le yasemakhaya ibizwa ngani thina siyazi kuthiwa inkukhu yesiZulu.
Tina, we call it paisane.
Ini?
Paisane.
Oh, paisa.
I don't know why it's called paisane, but that's what it's called.
Okay.
Kumani
I
says
get it.
umleqwa.
Umlepo. Maybe
Xhosa
it's umlepo. Xhosa, yes. Yeah. Yes.
Iswati paisane.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, thina ibizwa ngani Nkombe man? Inkukhu yesiZulu, mina ngiyazi njenkukhu yesiZulu.
Nina,
AmaZulu kodwa.
everything is
Ne? Ukudla
even
kwesiZulu.
people, even people, if there's a Mlungu and a black person, it doesn't matter what race what tribe they are. But it's no Zulu. Everything is Zulu. But that's not where we are. That's not where we are. I don't
Sorry,
know if
I'm
you've
digressing.
noticed,
Yeah.
but
Hmm?
there's a lot of cancers also now. Previously, years ago, cancer besinganayo thina
No,
maZulu. I'll say
no.
that. Besinganayo cancer, we never had cancer issues, but now we lose so many people to cancer. And I'm guessing it comes from also the food that we eat and the things that we expose our bodies to. Last week, was it last week or the week before? I was on a live with someone when we were talking about fertility and the things that can affect infertility. And she mentioned how plastics can affect infertility as well, like Vaseline or petroleum jellies. Such things
Really?
also have, yes, there's certain chemicals that are on those things and they have and I'm like, guys, that's man, JJ, everything is wrong. We must just create things like you say. Everything must be organic at this point.
Yes, kunomngane wami uManzana that also joined here. Uthi Cornish. No, you're right.
Cornish.
Also, I think, yeah, Manzana, Cornish. Probably another cause of cancer in Tina Bandabamniama also is the life that we live now is very different to what we used to live before, going back to the natural food and stuff and organic food. And also the pressures of life in today's society, like ukusebenza, stress, uyabo, endlini kulate. Obviously, it's easier to go buy or order, a quick meal versus cooking something, from a time point of view. So all those things also add to, contributing towards abantu manje these days having cancer. But some also cancer has always been there. We just didn't know, because
Yes.
uma ugula kwakuthiwa hayi mhlawumbe uloyiwe or udlisiwe or whatever, asazi. Maybe someone can do some kind of historical research to say that in the darky community, it might not have been as prevalent, but it existed.
Nangunaniki, our cancer advocates, actually. I'm glad you're here. She says, allow me to say on the cancer side, it was first found in ancient Egypt. Yes, our food is pumped, but the cancer cells have been in our bodies for centuries. Hectic.
Nazo. Thank you, Naniki.
That is hectic. That feels like, Jay, we need to have another conversation about this because I didn't know that. That's hectic.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
I had a thought. Okay, so you done by now. No, we are still halfway. So you used to play sports in high school, and then you grew up to becoming a fitness enthusiast. I don't know what that is, but do you think that also played a part in the type of life that you live now?
Yes. So I don't know if I have a problem with this word of fitness enthusiast, because I've always been, and I don't know if Mtsig is still watching, but I've always been a someone who just enjoys being physically active,
Yes.
So it's in my blood, from primary school to high school, even in varsity, I did play a little bit of rugby, maybe not as much sports that I partake in now due to other priorities, but I try, somewhat to be disciplined in what I eat, because when you are almost very close to 40, your body changes. Your recovery of many things like uthathis cut, and also nomzimba wakho uyashintsha. Case in point, I never had this, and it's good to always try and take care of yourself the best way that you can. So Mina, when I don't gym, I lose weight. When I go to the gym, I gain weight. So when I say I gain weight, I build muscle. So by nature, and it also helps nami what I eat is also, pretty good. I'm not the healthiest person in the world, but I do live a fairly, decent, life when it comes to food. So being physically active for me is something that it's second nature. I even notice with my firstborn kid, izinto engidlala naye nazo is physical, siyagijima and whatnot. Naye, I'm kind of influencing him indirectly to be a physical person that enjoys those kind of activities. We are seasoned in many aspects. For me, ukujuluka, physical activity of going to the gym, to be more specific,
Okay.
helps with my mind. I need to be very clear. It helps with my mind. I
Okay.
think better when I exhaust my body physically, when I really punish it,
Mm,
you know. After that, ngiyakwazi ukucabanga ngcono, and for me it helps. Maybe for someone else it might not,
mm,
So I play to those strengths, the thing that I am personally good at. Maybe
mm.
for someone
Okay.
else, it might not be the case. Maybe someone else, they enjoy reading or, playing chess and those things. Sure.
Mm.
But for me, now, I know my body. It just needs to be tortured almost every day.
Almost every day. Wow. But I think there's
Almost every
power
day.
in knowing your body and knowing yourself. And I
Correct.
think whenever I have
Correct.
conversations, self-awareness always comes up at the top, because when you understand what makes, what clears your mind. For some people, it's
Yes.
meditation.
Yes.
When maybe if you are supposed to sit down and meditate, I don't know if you actually do meditate,
No.
but
No, no,
maybe, yeah,
no.
more.
I've tried. Honestly, I have tried. I
Yeah.
think my thoughts are too loud, or maybe I didn't do it long enough to get to the point of meditating. I don't know what that means,
Mm,
To me, meditating is very different to someone else who might sit in a quiet room. So I remember in varsity and even in high school,
mm,
when I was studying, I could not study in a quiet place. They had to be white noise. Whether it's people talking, whether it's music in the background, it doesn't matter what kind of music, but
yes.
something. So even today, when I study, when I look at my scripts, when I'm doing shows and stuff,
Mm,
I can't look at my scripts and learn them in a quiet place. There needs to be a TV that's on, whether it's a cooking show
mm,
or mommy's club, whatever that's playing, it doesn't matter. But there just needs to be some kind of distraction for my mind to focus and hone in on what I'm doing.
mm,
And for me, it works. Maybe to me, that's what I could maybe consider as meditating.
So I last year did a course on, because I've tried morning meditation, and I just sit there and then I think of how very now you meditate. And then I start laughing at myself because I'm like, okay, yes, girl, you go, girl. Then I was like, okay, what else could I do to, to try and connect with my spiritual outside of like the church and the praying and whatever. And then I learned about mindfulness. So mindfulness is not about quietening your thoughts, but it's, yes, the thoughts are gonna come, but you teach yourself to say, okay, I'm in this moment now, and there's a bird. It's in ngaphandle, but okay, that's okay. I'm here. I'm in this moment. It's not me saying I don't want to hear anything that's happening around me. And then I learned that there's different ways of being mindful. Like this conversation now, you paying attention to me and me paying attention to you presently, so is a form of mindfulness. There's mindfulness where you can color in. I have a coloring in journal where if I feel like I need just a moment of peace, I can
You
open my journal
like
and color
like
in.
color.
Yes, I color
Ah,
in. And that can be a
didn't
form of
we do
mindfulness.
that like in crash?
Sorry, but we
Didn't
did,
you
but
do
it's
that in crash?
different. We
Huh?
did. It's different. Masukulile, you pay attention to the colors, the lines. It's
Oh,
you
right
can
one.
mindful eating. You can do it while you're eating. You're paying attention to the taste of the food, the colors. Mawudli rice and the car uyayibuka nje ukuthi le rice yaze yellow. And you look at the greens and you look at the yabona, and there's people who have coloring in things here. Nangu nebhayibheli
Yeah.
yokukolorisha.
Uh,
Black mom.
Charlene is also here. Hi, Charlene. What up? Yeah, I've
Hi.
never. Funny you mentioned looking at the color of food. I've never really given it much thought. But okay, continue.
There's different ways of being mindful. It's basically being present in the moment that you are in now. That's why I'm using us as an example, because you are
Okay.
literally paying attention to what I'm saying, which means you are present. So I think it's really also knowing what works for you. Like for me, when I know, hey, okay, I'm tired of thinking. Sometimes it's listening to music, paying attention to the actual lyrics of what is being said is a form of being mindful, because we sing and we go on not airplane mode, what is it, autopilot all the time, and you think you know songs until you're like, actually, let me take some time and listen to what this song. There was a song I listened to the other day and I was like, and here I was jamming to a song so proudly until wow. So we're different, and I think it's knowing what works for you that really helps with your. This is also not obvious. This is pumile physical, but just knowing what works with your mind and how you understand
Yes,
things and how you
correct.
like things. I'm
Yeah.
also like you. When I'm studying, I need to have music playing. I need to wear my headphones and I need to listen to music.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, I'm happy that at least you know, but I've also realized, Ruti, and some of us take a longer time to finally figure out the things that we play into our strengths too, you know. It does take time, but maybe going back to what you're talking about the mental wellness, I think it's a conversation that is very important that we need to have now because
Yes.
in the world we live in now and where the world is going, especially with AI and all these other things and social media, you know, people doing things because you want to be liked and whatnot, you know, it's important that someone takes time to actually figure out who they are as a human being without all these distractions that we have. There's also so many pressures that we as men go through. And by me saying that, it doesn't mean that because if I as a man are going through certain pressures, that means women don't know. We're not comparing.
Yeah.
We're talking about what we as, and this is a blanket statement, as what we as men go through, you know? And hey, it's very difficult being a man. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that because it's difficult being a man, it's easier being a woman. No. There are certain expectations that exist for men that might not necessarily exist for women because women also have their own expectations, you know, or there are certain things that are expected to be done by women, you know. And when you don't achieve those things in a particular time frame for yourself, get stress.
Yeah.
And because us men are not prone to talk about such problems, it does become an issue in the long run. Even when you find yourself in a relationship where maybe there's something you're not happy about, you find yourself not having the words to say them, you know. Men also find themselves in relationships that are abusive, maybe not physically, but emotionally. And you don't have you don't have a comfortable or secure place where you can vent those frustrations, and you end up sometimes being physical because it's
Yes.
the only way that you can potentially maybe communicate that something is not right, you know. So I think we need to have more of these discussions with men, but the most important thing is that a lot of us feel that these platforms are not safe enough for us
Yes.
to have because it's public.
Yes.
As for Nuguti, we don't want it to seem that we are weak, you know. And even if some of those things are private, uyasaba ukukhuluma because awazi ukuthi ubani ozothini kumuntu wakhe. Yazi uMakhanya, hey, yazi uMakhanya uthe kimi, you know. And before you know it, that person tells someone else, and then that information comes back to you. So uthola ukuthi you end up keeping that information to yourself, and those are the things that cause some men to be depressed, you know, suicidal, and all those things because of such.
That's true. And I think sometimes, which is something I learned when I worked in the mental health space, is a lot of people don't know that they're struggling. So
Yes,
sometimes there's things
that's
happening
true.
in your head,
That's
but you
true.
don't
Very true.
know that
Yeah,
there's things happening.
for sure.
One, because you haven't been taught that this is what it looks like, but
Yes.
two is because
Mm.
you don't. No one speaks about it. So I think that's also why sometimes you meet a stranger and you say something random, and they're like, "Me too," because we're all sitting in our little
Yeah.
corners,
So
but we're
true.
not.
So
Yeah,
true. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
mm.
Hey, is there a solution for it though?
I think the solution that I can offer is us nje manje yabo njengoba sikhuluma already we've taken a step. There might be someone that's listening to us and that might be reflecting and saying, okay, maybe. And there's so many resources out there. It's just that also people don't know that they are there. Sometimes it doesn't have to be
Yes,
public. Sometimes you can do it in your own little corner where you're
yes.
reading about it. So many podcasts. What's that guy's name? Oh, On Purpose. On Purpose. What's his name? What's his name? There's a podcast, the On Purpose. On Purpose is a brilliant podcast for men. There's also Diary
Okay,
of a CEO by Steve Bartlett. Those two
okay.
podcasts, I'll share them on when I save the live. I'll put it on the captions. There's so many
Mm,
podcasts where there's people having conversations like us where you can pick up these little things. And I think we
mm.
should have. I know that there's so many women. She's very concerned ngani bandla. Wow, and creating safe spaces. But I don't think we. How do I say this? Okay, let's put it like this. Right now, I don't think we are the safe spaces that we want to be, because I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, we like to say, you can talk to me. And the next thing, a guy starts crying. And the next thing, I start treating him differently. Angisafani-ke manje from what I was before. I knew what he was going through. Now I'm checking up on you, Fezile. Just checking in. Are you okay? Now mangikhaga mase ngibona ayisafani nale hug. Le hug yami manje, you know, if you can feel ukuthi le hug le, it's someone who knows you. So I think men should be
Yeah.
each other's safe spaces for now, and then you guys should be able to make each other, you know, aware, and then you become self-aware. Then yes, I'm over to part two, where we can become those safe spaces. There's someone
Let me
who's
tell you. Yeah.
yes,
Sorry. Continue.
yes. Oh, Utulu, please
My
speak up,
my
guys.
safe my safest. I'm not one to talk feelings and whatnot. Even my wife is like she finds it hard to crack, that emotional side of me. And when I do, it's very random.
Mm.
It's not a sitting down and then with a cup of coffee or tea, then, my love, this is how I feel. No, no, it's not me,
Yeah.
I'm random. I could tell you about something very important while we're taking a walk, or we could be driving to the shop to go buy bread. Like,
Mm.
it just, Nakona, maybe for me, it just happens randomly. But my safest place has always been the steam room at the gym.
Wow.
I find it so liberating emotionally and mentally. There are so many things I've learned. There's so many challenges that I found solutions to purely by
Mm.
speaking to random people. In a steam room, you're wearing your boxers clearly. You can hardly see the person next to you. You're
Yeah.
sweating, and people just talk.
Mm.
And there's something so liberating about talking to a stranger. Because you find that the problem that you thought was huge and almost impossible to overcome, that person has.
Mm.
And
Mm.
and the solution they give you is so practical, it's so simple, it's so easy that when you're sitting at home thinking about it, it's like, yeah, actually, that guy made sense. And with us guys, it's different because you can have a fat conversation with the guy and you don't even know his name, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, I guess for me, that is where I have been counseled the most, even in the
Wow.
toughest of times. And
That's
the
beautiful.
people that have helped me the most in that counseling, they were the gym I used to go to at the time. Predominantly, I used to gym with Muslims,
Mm.
and there was so much words of wisdom that came from those people that even we're still friends till today. I mean, it's a relationship now that spans over 15, 20 odd years. So for me, that works. Maybe for someone else, they might not feel comfortable, but nokumnandi angikuxamanga njengoba ngisho ukuthi kuhlala endaweni where it's your safe space and just you
Yeah.
talk and people
Yeah.
give you that advice, and life continues.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, no one remembers you, and no one ever talks about it to someone else.
Exactly.
That is the
You won't.
greatest thing.
Ayikho le hug,
Yes.
le
No, no,
ethi,
no, no, no. Manje
I'm not saying
sowakuthini?
I don't need to say anything, but
Wakuthini
like,
Timbu?
I was thinking how ironic it is with you naked
Mm.
in the steam room, but it also allows you to be vulnerable and naked
Correct.
with your thoughts, your
Yes.
emotions. That is
Yes.
stunning. Stella nihambe
Yes.
nejimini, guys. That is the moral of the story.
Phela imali, phela akufani. For some people, it might not be their thing,
That's true.
you know.
Yeah.
For me, I'm playing towards my strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I said, mhlawumbe for someone else, it might be angazi, maybe baking or cooking, you know, and that's what they use to let off steam or maybe gather their thoughts, you know, those kind of things, you know. So I think people need to do what they think works for them. Some
Yeah.
people enjoy a nice glass of wine,
Yes.
and they, you know, it allows them to. I don't know what the red wine or the white wine may do, but it maybe aligns certain things in themselves that helps, you
I'm
know.
glad you said that because I was going there, manje. Guti. There's people who have a glass and then it takes them there. Then there's people who drink, like they drink and they will tell you, Guti mina, for example, don't tell me about church, mina nje, Bodlela is my best friend. Don't tell me about therapy. The bottle is my friend and the bottle makes me, it helps me. But I feel
Yeah.
like personally, I feel like there's a certain level of masking and trying to forget certain things by drinking because alcohol can make you feel very happy and you know how people love each other nje. Like Puzo khona nje, everyone just
Yes.
loves each other. So I don't know what you think about substance abuse because it gets to a point where it's really bad.
Yes, that is very true. I used to work with a guy at SABC many years when I was still a presenter.
Yes.
In the 6 years I was there, he was never sober.
At
He had
work.
this water bottle. No, never. But that's indlela operator ngayo. I'd never in 6 years, I'd never seen that guy. In fact, yeah, to a point where I sat down, alcohol was in his system, and that's just how he lived. Funny enough, and I'm going to be very controversial here. Also, people mask how they feel by going to church.
Yeah, kakhulu. Whoa, even more than lava. Lava alcohol.
And it's something that people don't talk about.
Yep.
Because anything that involves religion and God, we think is, no, it's all right. You know, Tandaza, go to church and everything will be fine. And you go to church and everything is not fine.
It's worse.
It's worse.
Yes.
And what makes it worse is you tell someone at church saying, I have this problem. And maybe that person intentionally or unintentionally tells someone else, hey, but who crazy has this problem? Let's pray for that person. Kanti omunye umuntu uzozwa, and that comes back to you in not the way that you had said it.
Yes.
Uyabo. So, hey, I ask you this again: is there a solution? I will give you my personal experience. I have been to church where things were like, yeah, my life is not going well. I was tired, but no one knew. Weeks later, what I had asked to be prayed about came back to me. I vowed I would never do that again. Till today, I don't. That's
I
my
actually,
experience.
sorry, Gupazamisa, I had a live with a counselor where we were talking about counseling in the church and how Anisho Futi it's more accessible, it's free. But what she said is that's what happens. You go to a counselor because you think it's a safe space, but because there's nothing, there's no signing, there's no
Correct.
consent, there's no boundary set.
Yes.
Someone
Yes.
and then they use your story as an example, or they use it as a testimony to encourage someone. I think usually that's a testimony. Hi, don't worry, no Fezile nae. There was a time when this and this happened. Yeah, sometimes I'm not saying that that's what usually happened, but that
Yeah.
person in that moment thinks that they're saying this to encourage the other person. But you shouldn't do that, because I came to you needing a safe space, and now it's worse when it comes to me. And that's why a lot of people, this is how the conversation ended. That's where also church hurt comes, because we think that church is the safest place. And I totally agree with you when you say a lot of people mask their problems. We mask problems, we mask personalities. Let me just use those two: problems and personalities. And then we go to church and we think because nyasonda, then nothing else matters. That's who I am, and my problems are going to vanish. No, I was telling my friend, church for me grounds me. It's a place where I ground myself, but I still need to deal with my demons when I get home. I still need to act a certain way. I still need to not judge people because mina ngiyakholwa. I think laba phuzayo that we were talking about now.
Guys, I can't hear you anymore. There we go. Yeah, look, I can hear you now. Hey, because the mask thing is a very serious thing, because a lot of the times it comes from places where you never thought that would come from, which is church. I think a lot of Christians, whether this is controversial or not, but it's true, some of us are the worst hypocrites, because people come brokenhearted, and they want to be healed, they want to be comforted, and the only place one can think of is going to church.
Yep.
And if God says come as you are, and I come as I am, I'm looked down upon. By the very same people who say, no, Hosa, you're welcome, That is why I'm getting you need to play to your strengths. You need to understand who you are as a person. And it's also easier said than done. It's very easy for you and I to say, no, it's very easy,
Yes.
Just close your eyes, Tinta Wusa, it's gonna come to you. Kwabanye doesn't, because they also might not have that emotional intelligence or maturity to do it. And they need help.
Yes.
So we as a people have a lot to do for humanity, just ourselves. And I don't like hiding under religion. I don't like hiding under Christianity. As much as I'm a Christian, it's not something that I will never promote it, because God is for us all, not for a particular type of religion. Why? I know what I'm saying is very controversial, and I've even asked this. Baba Mumfundis is an elder.
Okay.
And if the Bible says you can only go to heaven through Jesus, then why did God create so many billions of people? And some people are Hindu, some are Muslim, are you telling me that they're not going to make it? But the Bible says you go to heaven, it's because of grace.
Hey. Okay.
It's a comment I mean. No, I mean, it's a comment I mean.
No, I want
because
to
of
go into it, but I also don't, because
no.
I have a big mouth. And
no, the thing is, at some point, we as people, now if you've grown up in a particular background, like I said, Mina, I grew up as Christian. I know we're kind of deviating, but we're still kind of almost in the same thing.
Spiritual.
Correct. Yes. Ngikhule mina esontweni, ngikhule mina sithandaza kuNkulunkulu and all those things, which I still believe in until today. But hey, these things of ancestors, amadlozi, don't, I'm a demon. Ukhule, you have
Yeah.
family members that pass away. What do
Yeah.
they become? If I,
Phendulani kuma-comments, guys.
if I believe the things of when God spoke to someone and he says, I'm the God of your,
Okay.
he said, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying now I've changed my belief or whatever, but all I'm trying to say is that some of the things that we grew up being told, now also okay, but I hear you, but surely a person from my lineage that came before me, they are now passed away. They're an ancestor. And there's nothing wrong. We all have obey. But anyway, um, yeah, that's another conversation for another day. But I don't know if you can still hear me. I'll just wait until you can, because it looks like your screen is there. We go. You're back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
My mom Fundisi was calling me. Maybe we are phone. We should just say, hey, Nitin,
Kungaba mnandi kabi naye if they can come through and and have their opinion. It would be very nice.
Here's an opinion. Blackpot says they become ancestors. There's also ancestors in the Bible. Lol. Mobani says they become dead relatives. G.
They become dead. Well, I mean, each to their own. Thina abantu abamnyama, we believe each all black people have ithakazelo. I would like to believe all black. Mina ngugcwabaza owadla abantu behleza badla besukumela umngoni uthusi uyeye igumende yabo. Bonke labantu that I've mentioned, none of them are alive.
Yeah.
That's my lineage. Those are the people that came before me. They have become my ancestors. Another question of guardian angels there, that's a conversation for another day, because it's not part of men's or emotional or spiritual wellness. But all I'm trying to say to you is that we do need to find a place, or you need to find something that works for you. I am not in support of alcohol or substance abuse. That's not good. But uthola ukuthi because mhlambe uyasaba ukukhuluma noma you've tried it before, it didn't work, or you're just in a place where mentally you're not in the right thinking or state of mind, and the only thing that can honestly help you at that time is alcohol.
Yes.
Abajaji mina abantu abanjani, angisho nakhona ukuthi ku-right, cha akukho right, yabo, but abantu abanjani nabo badinga ukusizwa, because uthola ukuthi uma sebedaliwe yima bekhuluma amaqiniso angempela. Umboni yabo lo muntu uhlakaniphile. Uhlakaniphile umuntu lo. Sengathi ukuhlakanipha kwakhe kungaba nje ngisho noma esofa, yabo. Kodwa uma sesofa uyashintsha because uba namahloni.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
I like that. And I don't think a lot of people know, but I learned this also in the work that I did. But substance abuse is also an illness, and a lot of people are sick, but they don't realize. And I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it ends up becoming an illness where that's why utola someone now you can't leave the alcohol anymore. If you stop, your liver is going to fail. But I want to ask you something. What do you think of therapy?
I did therapy once in high school.
I
was
session.
Depressed. Yeah. Well, not one session, but it was a couple of sessions. But it did nothing for me. Absolutely squat. I then tried it again recently for something else. I won't lie. The first 2-3 sessions were I was just not there. But over time, it kind of helped, gave me a different perspective of how to look at the challenge that I was going through at the time. I learned a lot about myself, but I found that there were flaws in that therapy.
Mm.
Maybe because the person I was speaking to was a female. So there are certain things that that person did not understand or did not understand a male's perspective.
Mm.
We are uh, and also there was a cultural sort of misunderstanding as well. We are
Mm. Yeah.
But to give you a better answer, I definitely do think therapy is good.
Mm.
Maybe not the traditional sense of seeing someone and sitting down and talking, because for some of us it's very hard
Mm.
to go and you talk. How it's put is you pay money to tell someone your problems, then they ask you, what are you going to do about it?
Kabaka, sengibhadalenga. Mfethu,
Usabe
come on.
uphile ubuza mina kufana ngenze njani? Because ultimately that is the long and short of it. That is what therapy is.
Yes.
Some people it works for them,
Mm.
and I applaud them. It definitely played a very big part recently in my life, and I'm happy I did go,
Mm.
and I'm happy that I did listen.
Yeah.
But also therapy, like I said, it happens in different forms.
Yes.
The therapy that I like is the stemo, like I said. For me, it works far better and it's cheaper as well,
Yes.
because I'm already paying for gym membership. So it's a fee that I pay once a month, and I speak to a random. In Akona, it's a conversation that just happened randomly, and you learn something from it, you know.
Mm.
But there's different types of therapies. Like I said, some people enjoy just hiking. Some people enjoy looking at trees or nature, and the longer that they're there, the easier that their mind can sort of unclutter whatever that they're going through.
Mm. And I think it
So
obviously, sorry,
say
I was
say
going to
it
say it.
again.
I think it depends on the level of where your
Yeah,
mental health is, obviously.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So interestingly enough, therapy has is it's a the word therapy maybe is a new term, but people have been doing it for centuries. They just didn't know that was therapy. You
Yes.
know, so it happened. Like I said, it happened. You do it in different ways, and people, bathole indlela ezibasebenzelayo bona. Ukuthi nje kuphela
Mm.
manje it's been commercialized because but no, you must see someone. Yes,
Yeah, so my experience was I didn't know this, but I always heard "Tiwa, we must get therapy, we must deal with our childhood traumas, blah 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 blah. So I went to see a psychologist. The first time I came back, I'm like, I feel worse than I did before I went. Now I feel like I had a terrible childhood. I feel like no one loved me. All these things have now, it's come up because we were talking about it. Some things, we forget things, we bury them. Now I'm sitting there with all these emotions and feelings, and I'm like, this is not why I paid 1,300 rand. I didn't pay to feel more miserable. I was happy before I went. Then I went
yeah,
again. Then I was like, this is not helping. Then I found another one. And then I felt the same way. Then, all years later, I realized that there's also different types of these professionals, and I don't think
okay,
I needed to see a psychologist because I know mainly my psychologists deal with diagnoses and the depressions, anxieties, and bipolars. They link you to a psychiatrist, you get medication. And I just wanted to be healed because I wanna have, I wanna be happy. Ngoba kuthiwa kumele
yeah,
sihile sidile nama-demons ethu. Then I realized that okay, I was just wasting money. I really did not need to see. Like you say, there's different avenues. There's different professionals. There's coaches. The world is our oyster, and there's so many options. And I think back to what we were saying before, each to their own. It's really educating yourself and finding what works for you and not going near social media Men's mental health. Now you think you must book a session near 1.5. You go, you come back, you
Yeah.
feel. Sometimes if it says you must go, then go and try it out. We're not saying don't do certain things,
Yeah.
but what we're saying is find out what works for you and use Fezile, like you said. It's using the strengths and finding out what soothes your soul. If it's organic food, good for you. If it's KFC, all the best.
Yeah. Let me tell you something that you didn't ask. I know that a friend of mine is here, Eddie Former. Miss you, ça va bien? Men talk more than what you guys think.
Yeah.
It's just that sometimes women don't see the signs when a man is speaking like from the heart. Because no, it's true.
Wow.
Because this is a blanket statement, by the way, and I'm generalizing that when we honestly do speak and we share our emotions, for some strange reason, some women, or women in general, make it about themselves.
Mm.
And the minute you do that, we then shut off. We shut down. Like, okay, I see it.
Sure.
And I'm going to say this again. Men do speak. And we do get advice from friends. Sometimes it's not the greatest advice. Sometimes it's advice that's misleading, but it is advice. But whether you take it or not, it depends on the quality of friends that you have. But it's not something that we do every day. When it happens, it happens. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. But a lot of us as amateur, we know the signs when a guy, wants to have a heart to heart. You can see, man, this guy, just give him a moment and hear what he has to say. And a lot of times, a solution is presented to him, and it's up to that person whether they follow up on it or not. Yeah, so, but in the long and short of it, we do have a very long way to go.
Yes.
But I also someone else might say, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Another man could say, hey, but you see now this thing of mental, what, and men, this thing is going to make us soft, I think there is a certain level of softness that us men do need to have. Maybe not in the presence of women, maybe amongst ourselves, because we have egos, and I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that we have egos, and what drives us to do many things as a man is your ego, but you also need to understand what's ego yakho. Is it ihamba ifike kuphi? Is it for your own personal benefits, or is it going to lead you to your own destruction? So then again, it takes a human being or a man with emotional intelligence to understand.
Next session, Kuruma, you're teaching us how to get emotional intelligence.
You're asking the wrong person. I don't know. Mina. Yes,
how do you know you have it? Because then maybe it
Sure,
can help people identify what it is.
What? Okay, maybe what is emotional intelligence? You were reading definitions. What is emotional intelligence? I think yeah.
I'm gonna Google it, but I'll tell you what my idea is. It's being able to identify how you feel and how you make others feel in the most simplest form. It's that, but I'm gonna ask her. Then while I'm googling,
Okay. My definition of emotional intelligence is I'm able to control my emotions and anger.
Okay.
That for me is my emotional intelligence. If I'm insulted, I'm able to react in a way, I am able to respond and not react.
Okay.
That for me is what my little definition of what emotional intelligence would be.
Let
So if
me
someone
read it for
right
you.
now in our chat were to say, Makhanya uyakubheja, leta ayikhulumayo udodi, I would not, I would not react. I would respond,
Love
and I
it.
am aware.
Yes.
You get my point?
Yes.
Yeah. You see, even Monsieur Farmer knows. He says he has EQ because he is quite self-aware. Monsieur,
When they bought you, they asked you to come onto the
and then
stage.
I pay very well. Very well.
Let me read it for you. It says it's basically what said. Emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions,
There we
as
go.
well as to recognize, understand, and influence the emotions of others. It involves skills like empathy, self-awareness, emotional regulation, and effective communication in interpersonal relationships. Last part. Emotional intelligence helps individuals navigate social situations, manage stress, make informed decisions, and build healthier relationships.
Yes, I do somewhat have that.
Yeah.
Yes, I know it. And also, you're also aware of your own shortcomings as well. Because let us not forget, you can be emotionally intelligent and only think ukuthi when I'm, ngiyazazi, but ungakhohlwa ukuthi nawe njalo unama-shortcomings.
And it takes,
And know,
yeah.
and
Sorry.
know, and you need to know what they are and when they present themselves.
And to add on what you're saying, it takes being emotionally intelligent and aware to be able to go back to someone and apologizing before that person says, you made me angry because of 1, 2, and 3. It's literally being able to reflect econing lack and saying, okay, I wonder what I said yesterday. I was wrong and I'm sorry. And a lot of people need EQ. I need to sell it.
Yes.
If I get books in and sell it. OLX.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
think,
No,
yeah.
but don't you think that having emotional intelligence or being aware of it helps to helps in mental
Definitely.
wellness? Yeah.
Definitely.
Ne?
It takes that
Yes.
to know that you're struggling. If you don't have that, you won't know. You won't be able to see, mind you, I'm angry. And then sometimes you find someone like Tetisa. You're like, why are you angry? Why are you shouting at me? And they're like, I'm not angry. But you can see that person
Yeah.
is pissed off.
Yeah.
So definitely. And
Yeah.
I'm glad
Okay.
to see Elena. I think it's the best way to end this conversation. We can even give people homework on emotional intelligence. They can go and reflect on how they feel, how they make other people feel around them. You can reflect on the conversations that you have with people. You can even ask people. Sometimes reflection doesn't always have to come from inside because we are our worst critics. Sometimes it's reflecting by asking those around you, questions that you want them to help you understand about yourself. You can ask, do you think I'm emotionally intelligent? And they can tell you if they obviously know what it
Yeah.
is.
So
Yeah.
I have one last comment to make.
Yes, please.
Um, I think this is to the guys, maybe women as well. But i- ngizobeka kanjani ngizothi, knowing that you are okay mentally, I'll ask you a question. Are you comfortable being in your own space? Are you comfortable being alone? Are you kunabantu that are not happy in just being alone?
Mm.
They don't like their own company. Let me put it that way. They thrive being in with other people. Bayasaba to confront themselves because we all have a conscience that speaks to us that does not care your race, the amount of money you have, or your status. You know, and I think it helps also. It's a starting point to be comfortable in your own skin. Flaws, that for me would be a great start to knowing yourself better.
I thank you, Principal.
Thank you. By the way, because to get to this point, it took a lot of breaking.
I'm glad
It hasn't been an
to hear
easy
that.
path. It's been challenging. And I am not one to sort of, I'm not very big on social media as much as I was before, you know. And I've been criticized by my own manager saying, Daughter, you must post more, you must, you must do this more. I'm like, I'm actually starting to enjoy not having my phone next to me while enjoying a particular moment for the first time. For argument's sake, my son, he's 11 weeks now. He literally started smiling like 2, 3 days ago, you know?
Yes.
And I was like, wow, that is such a beautiful, and I know it's a postable thing, and obviously it's a nice thing to share with people, but for me it was like, man, this moment for me is so priceless that even if I were to record it, it will only stay on my phone or maybe shared with certain family members, so to speak, who are not close to it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
That for me is a way where I keep myself in check, you
Mindfulness.
know.
That is exactly it.
Yes, 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 mindfulness. And with that, thank you for the invite.
I thank you so much. This was a beautiful conversation, and I hope that there were guys here who learned a thing or two. You made them reflect on themselves. I enjoyed your presence. I enjoyed you challenging me. I enjoyed your humor, and I enjoyed your vulnerability and your openness. I appreciate you so much. Next one that's coming up, sikhuluma emotional intelligence. Thank you.
Imam, Nami, with me. Oh,
You. I'm
yeah,
joking.
I don't.
No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Okay.
But
All
thank you
right. No,
so
thank you
much.
so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all the people that are watching us. I hope like we're all learning because no one is a master of everything. So it was a discussion and not trying to teach, but just share what one knows, the little that it may be, might help some. So I'm a person that enjoys learning as well. So by all means, please send us, myself in particular, DMs if you think there's more information one can, learn and absorb. Thank you once
Mina
again.
bengisacela nimthengele i-coloring book, please.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
yeah. I did that. I did that in French. Right.
I am going to, but let me not make promises online. Ngaze kuthiwa mina ngathembisa uFezile i-coloring book. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Fez.
Thank you,
Bye.
Anele. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Eddie, Ziggy, everyone else that's there. Thank you so
Everyone that
much.
you paid to come and fakaza
Yes,
here.
like I said, brother pays well.
Bye.
All right, cool. Thank you. Sure.